everyone. Welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you live from the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California. And we are so glad you decided to make us a part of your day, but I wanted to let you know, too, tomorrow, it's going to be kind of a different kind of show for us. We are not going to be shooting the show here in our natural habitat. Amy Rose, Dennis, myself, Chrisley, and Schnepp, we're all getting on a plane tonight and flying out to Missouri to the AMC headquarters office, and we're actually going to shoot the show from, the AMC Death Star, the new campus out there. It should be kind of interesting, so we hope you join us for that.
Also here, AMC Movie News Editor Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Hey guys, hope you had a nice Memorial Day weekend. I'm back from LA Beat Music Festival, which was great, and I'm looking forward to reporting from the Death Star tomorrow.
Also here, AMC Movie News Production Manager Dennis N.
I'm also excited to go back to the mothership of AMC.
The AMC mothership.
Yeah.
In a recent interview with our friends at Slash Film, Jurassic World director Colin Trevorrow revealed several major and key story points about the upcoming fourth installment of the Jurassic Park franchise. Here are the major excerpts from the interview. Jurassic World takes place in a fully functional park on Isla Nublar. It seems more than 20,000 visitors every day. You arrive by ferry from Costa Rica. It has elements of a biological preserve, a safari, a zoo, and a theme park. There is a luxury resort with hotels, restaurants, nightlife, and a golf course. And there are dinosaurs, real ones. You can get closer to them than you ever imagined possible. It's the realization of John Hammond's dream, and I think you'll want to go there. Our relationship with technology has become so woven into our daily lives, we've become numb to the scientific miracles around us. We take so much for granted. What if, despite previous disasters, they built a new biological preserve where you could see dinosaurs walk the earth, and what if people were already kind of over it? We imagined a teenager texting his girlfriend with his back to a T-Rex behind protective glass. There will be one new dinosaur created by the park's geneticists. The gaps in her sequence were filled with DNA from other species, much like the genome in the first film was completed with frog DNA. This creation exists to fulfill a corporate mandate. They want something bigger, louder, with more teeth, and that's what they get. Jurassic World opens in AMC theaters everywhere on June 12, 2015. John, what do you think of these comments from Trevorrow?
I love it, actually. It sounds great, the whole notion of, because it's so true. About us, we are a law of diminishing returns kind of species. One thing, something that's good, like great for us today, tomorrow doesn't seem so great and whatever. And this whole idea that they actually did it. They fulfilled Hammond's vision. They created Jurassic Park. Everything he ever said it would be in the first movie. And eventually people start to get bored of it. And now we've heard rumors about them making a cross-species dinosaur bigger, better. And now this context of the corporate heads wanted something new because people are starting to get bored of Jurassic Park, so they want a new, bigger dinosaur. That sounds perfect. Now, some people might, texted me earlier today and say, "Hey, John, be careful with talking about that because that could be considered a spoiler." None of this stuff is a spoiler. All this is going to be in the first trailers. You know that they're going to set the context for you. But I think this sounds great. I'm excited for it because one of the things I was worried about Jurassic World was just another redux of Jurassic Park. They get to an island and they find out that some of the dinosaurs are still there and it's wreaking havoc now on some people who are stuck on the island for some reason. Like, we've been there, we've done that. This is a really good new take. I'm excited about the direction of it, so I really like it. Amy Rose?
I like it a lot, and I really like his comment about the juxtaposition of the old prehistoric world with new technology and all of that, because I think that's fascinating. I mean, especially where we're at nowadays, where we want it faster and more efficient, and we get very bored easily with things because it's we want it now. We're a lot more impatient than we used to be, and I love that image of like the person texting with the T-Rex behind the back,
the T-Rex behind them, yeah.
Like, I'm not amused, and so I think that's really interesting. And I mean, we were talking about before when they were talking talking about, breeding the species and everything like that. And I thought that would be really interesting. But with the context, it sounds even better because that could really go over the line of cheesy if they didn't do it right. But like, again, they're trying to stay relevant. They're trying to keep audiences captivated and interested. So I think everything he wrote is very good, and it just gets me really, really excited about this new installment, especially with Chris Pratt in there.
The idea at first when I heard of another sequel to the Jurassic Park franchise, I was kind of lukewarm, like, I'm not sure. I thought, okay, let's wait and see till we get a trailer and then I'll get more excited. These quotes make me really excited about the movie now. The description of the whole tourist attraction, like this is a place I want to go to. Like sign me up. I'll go over there and hang out and take pictures of dinosaurs and stuff like that. And I also appreciate his quotes about the scientific miracles that we kind of are numb to.
So true.
Yeah. I mean, it's like our cell phones, the internet, all those things. Because I'm older person, so I remember.
So old.
I remember. Hey, there's a lot of people here watching that have never lived a day of their life without the internet or a cell phone. Well, at least I have. I remember there was no cell phones, internet. If you had to look something up, you had to go to the library.
There are people watching this who have never used a rotary phone in their lives. All right, let's just let that sink in.
Yeah. So what he says about the kid not being amused by the dinosaurs is very true, because that hypothetically, if that ever were to happen, that would actually happen. People would be like, whatever. I've seen a T-Rex before. I've seen a Brontosaurus, but I'm most excited to see basically the whole tourist attraction just go crazy when dinosaurs run loose.
Just after looking at the story this morning, I went and I watched. Remember that Louis C.K. bit that he did? I believe it was on Conan, when he talks about how people just take the wonders and the marvels of technology for granted, which sounds like they're going to be going with in here. And he tells this story about how I was on a flight the other day and they have internet on the plane. Like, you can actually watch YouTube videos and be on the internet and be connected with everybody while you're on a plane. And he goes, and the stewardess came on and announced that they apologized, but the internet, there's something wrong. The internet went down and they weren't going to have internet for this flight. He says, and the guy beside me went, well, this is bull. He goes, like, I want to turn to him and say, dude, you're sitting on a chair in the sky, and we take these things for granted, and that's why I really do kind of like the direction.
Louis is the best, but it's so true. That happened to me on my way back from New York, and I was cutting out. I'm like, well, what's up with this? And I was like, okay, I'm, this high up in the air, and I'm totally being snobby about this. So it is funny.
We forget the wonders of
really
the things of the age we live in. All right, what's next?
The upcoming World War Z 2 has just landed its writer. According to reports, Academy Award-nominated screenwriter Stephen Knight has just been brought on to draft the Brad Pitt project. Knight has written such films as the 2007 Viggo Mortensen film Eastern Promises and the recent Tom Hardy film Locke. Amy Rose, is Stephen Knight a good fit for the next World War Z film?
I definitely think he is. I have not had the opportunity to see Locke yet, but I've only heard fantastic things. And I mean, Tom Hardy, it's a really interesting concept. And Eastern Promises, again, was really interesting and well done. Viggo, I mean, my man Viggo. So I think this is good. I thought World War Z was interesting, but not fantastic. I thought there were definitely elements of cheese. And from everyone that I know read the book, it was like not that similar to it. So a lot of people
it's a complete departure.
were very disappointed. But, Brad Pitt still can carry a movie. I think he's a fantastic actor. And yeah, I think that getting talent, we always talk about this, is never a mistake, and certainly having a writer like this is having talent. So I think it will be interesting to see, because a lot of his films to date have been much more character-driven, and this is on a much larger scope. So I think it's a good challenge for him, and you need those character moments to keep it more grounded, so I think it seems like a good fit for now.
I think this is a great fit, because when you look at Eastern Promises, Viggo was great in it, yeah. The script of Eastern Promises, when you really watch the film, you realize the screenplay is just remarkably good. Locke, fantastic. And I think people undersell World War Z. I ended up enjoying World War Z a lot more than I didn't. But I find a lot of people who are detractors of the film just went in wanting the run-by-numbers zombie movie. They just wanted lots of zombies running around and just eating people's brains. But this it turned out to be a character-driven movie, I found. And I think a guy like this is going to fit in really well in this world that Brad Pitt has kind of created. So I'm looking forward to it. Dennis?
I really liked Eastern Promises. I heard really good things about Locke. World War Z for me was okay. It was decent. There's some things I liked about it. There's some things that could have improved. I thought when it ended, I was like, wow, obviously they're setting this up for a sequel. I'm looking at Stephen Knight's kind of resume as IMDb. It's like, it's mostly kind of dramas and crime dramas or period dramas, and so I don't know if he's exactly the right fit for it, but because he is talented, I think he's going to do a good job with it.
I'm not going to say the name, but when you first read that Stephen Knight may be writing World War Z, I made a quick mistake in my head. I'm just wondering if you might have made the same
you thought it was
mistake.
Stephen DeKnight.
DeKnight, yeah. I thought, what, the showrunner from Spartacus? What?
Big difference.
Well, he's actually taking over for Daredevil on Netflix.
Yeah, he's taking over for Daredevil. But that would have made an interesting World War Z sequel if Stephen DeKnight did.
That actually would have been
I'm actually
a better fit for me, honestly. I'd be like, okay, that makes more sense.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then Dennis, Amy Rose, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
It's being reported that Captain America the Winter Soldier star Anthony Mackie is going to be playing Jesse Owens in an upcoming biopic about the athlete's life. Owens famously took home 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, striking a major moral blow to Adolf Hitler's supremacist philosophy, while at the same time becoming a powerful symbol for America's own struggle with racial inequality. Dennis, buy or sell Mackie playing Jesse Owens?
I buy it. I like Anthony Mackie, and he looks like Jesse Owens.
Yeah,
he
he
kind of
does.
has a look. It's, I guess, a passion project of his that he's been wanting to do for a really long time. And the only thing I think is there's several other Jesse Owens projects going on, and so I think he needs to hopefully get his moving first. That way he can get it out, before everyone else, because no one's gonna see 3 Jesse Owens movies.
Right, Amy Rose.
Yeah, I buy as well. I love Anthony Mackie. I'm glad that he's starting to, they're taking a lot more risk on him because he hasn't really led that many movies. And I just think he has such talent. He can do drama, he can do comedy. He's so charismatic and charming, and I'm really happy about that. And I always talk about what a sucker I am for historical pieces like this, and I'm also for sports movies. So the combination, I'm right on track. And his story is so inspiring, so interesting, especially under, Adolf's rule and all of that. So I think it's going to be a really good time. And there's always competing films about the same subject matter. I mean, obviously, again and again and again, we talk about this, so we'll see which one's better.
Yeah, this is a big buy for me. Number one, because Mackie is a ridiculously talented dude. Number two, this is a great role. This is a huge sirloin steak beef role. I mean, this is a terrific role. But also, I think I'm excited about the movie as a whole because people just do not today appreciate the significance of what Jesse Owens did. And like in our culture, we tend to think that something happens and everything changes overnight. But that's not the case. Usually what happens, if you look over the history of our society, something happens, 20 years pass, and there's been a little shift as a result of what happened 20 years ago to then a spark point happens where big things start to happen. But they never would have happened if it wasn't for what happened first. What Jesse Owens did, especially in the world that he lived in at the time, if you just read it in a book, you would almost think it sounds too weird to believe. But it's just one of the most amazing stories. I love it. I love the pairing. So for me, it's a big buy.
Unconfirmed reports are circulating this morning that Marvel has found the new director for the upcoming AntMan film, that Edgar Wright has just departed. The rumor is that Marvel is looking at Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn. John, in theory, would you buy or sell James Gunn directing Ant-Man?
Well, I mean, first of all, let's be clear. I don't believe those reports going around. I just don't. I don't trust the source that it's coming from and all that kind of stuff. However, that being said, it's an interesting, just theoretical discussion to bring up. Because let's look at it this way. I would buy James Gunn directing Ant-Man. I would buy it. He's already on board. He is already familiar with he knows everything about the Ant-Man movie that's coming. He already knows all of it. He's a friend of Edgar Wright, so he already knows the kind of stuff that Edgar wanted to go. He's working close with Kevin Feige. He knows where Kevin and Marvel want to go with it. He's already in the pipeline, if you will, with Marvel. I don't think he has any other upcoming announced projects just yet. And he's pretty much at the end of the line with Guardians of the Galaxy. He's coming out in August. He'll be ready to start shooting something next. It is not unprecedented for another director to step in last minute and fill the shoes of a recently left director. I would buy this. I think it would make sense. I think it would fit. I don't believe the rumor at all. But if they did it, I'd be all for it. Amy Rose?
Yeah, I'd also buy it. I mean, we had James Gunn in here, and he's just a wonderful guy. He loves this property. You can feel his enthusiasm oozing out of him. I mean, he's a good dude, and everything we've seen from Guardians looks absolutely fantastic. So I really do have faith in him. But I also think it's a little less sexy to have the same director, you know, bring another property that's also kind of not, you know, top tier in terms of the mass majority. I think it would be more exciting to bring a new, fresh, unique take in. But I wouldn't be disappointed about it because the trust is there, and they obviously have a lot of pressure with this one now, with Wright departing after being on it for years. So, and, you know, a property like this that a lot of people are not as excited about as the Iron Mans of the world and the Hulks and all of that. So I cannot wait to see how they make this, tie this back up and get it back to life. But I would be okay with it, but I think fresh energy would be my preference.
Dennis?
I don't think the rumor's true either,
Yeah.
but in theory, I do buy it. He has James Gunn has a quirky sensibility that's
Perfect fit of quirky
Yeah.
sensibility.
Yeah.
similar
Yes.
to Edgar Wright's. But if this were true, it'd mean a few different things. One, that Marvel is very happy
Yeah.
with the way Guardians of the
Yes.
Galaxy
Yeah.
is turning out. Two, that they would have to delay the start of AntMan, shooting AntMan, because I know that Guardians is almost done, but he's still doing like ADR, overseeing the final visual effects, sound mixing, all that stuff. So also he has to do press for a Guardian. So he wouldn't be able to start shooting until probably like September.
That would
my
hurt
guess.
them to push the date.
So they would have to
I don't agree. I don't think he would have to wait until. I think he literally would be willing, or not willing. I think he would. Once again, we're all talking in theoreticals here. I think he'd be ready to go and ready to shoot in July. I really do. Because I don't think. Look, James Gunn is not Steven Spielberg. He's not somebody you have to have on the press tour. So he doesn't have to be doing press. You got Chris Pratt. You got Zoe Saldana. You got. You're probably going to have Vin
Barry
Diesel.
Gillen, yeah.
Vin Diesel loves doing press. He's so good at it. I think in theory, you could do it, but any way you cut it, you're right. This would be cutting it really close.
Yeah.
It would be cutting it extremely close. But look,
Crazier things have
they're cutting
happened.
it close today. They can start
Yeah.
shooting today, and they're cutting it close. So
Yeah.
who knows? All right, what's next?
It's
Oh, wait,
time
it's
for
time. We only had
mailbag.
2 buy and sell stations, right? Because we're doing extra mailbag today. Folks, it's time for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we're going to save a couple of minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live questions. So if you're watching us live right now, you can tweet in questions. Just tweet us at AMC Movie News. But for now, we got some extra mailbag questions today. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Levi Hanush writes, I love the show. It has become my #1 podcast to listen to. And with how much I drive, I pretty much listen every day. And days I don't listen, I'm able to catch up driving the next day. My question is, why don't you guys put up all the spoilers reviews as a podcast? I would love to be able to listen to it as I drive without YouTube taking up all my bandwidth. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's true. I guess listening to us on YouTube does use up a lot of your bandwidth. I have the Sprint Unlimited plan, so I don't worry about bandwidth per se. But I'll be honest with you. I have never really cared that much about the audio podcast version of it. Now, I used to care about audio podcasts long before YouTube, and I've done a lot of audio podcasting in my life, obviously. But to me, the audio podcast has always been an afterthought. I just care about our video show. That's really all I care about. And then we had a whole bunch of people emailing saying, hey, can you please put up an audio feed? Can you please put up an audio feed? So I went, all right, just for those handful of people that want to listen to the audio of the show, we'll put up an audio feed. So eventually we put together an audio feed. Well, I thought maybe 60, I kid you not, I literally thought 50, 60, or 70 people listen to the audio podcast. But it turns out like over 5,000 people a day download the audio podcast. So I'm like, oh.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, maybe we should do something about that. So we started including mailbag on the audio podcasts, and I believe we are, and then we started putting Jedi Council in the audio podcast as well, and I believe we're going to start including the spoiler reviews in the audio podcast feed. And what we do is instead of splitting up into individual podcast feeds, we just have one podcast feed you have to be subscribed to. And if you look in the description of all of our AMC Movie Talk videos, you'll see a link to where you can subscribe to our podcast, and we put all of it just in the same feed, so you don't have to have 5 or 6 different feeds. And we put it there, but yeah, apparently more people like listening to the audio than I thought. So yes, we will include it in that. Do you guys have anything you wanted to add on that?
I think you summed it up
Nope.
pretty well.
All right, what's next?
Neil Totten writes, you guys keep on saying X-Men Days of Future Past is in your top 5 favorite comic book movies, but what are your top 5 comic book movies?
Yeah, we throw the term around a lot. All right, so whenever you talk about top 5 or top 10 or whatever, it can depend. I mean, it depends on the mood you're in. Sometimes you have two films that are so close to each other that one day you might have one at number 3 and one at number 4, and a month later you might reverse it. Okay, that's fine. I'll give you my top 5, and then I'm not going to make you guys say your top 5, but I think you're prepared for it. All right, so without, completely this being legally binding or anything, without holding me to this too much, my number 5 best comic book movie of all time, as of right now, is X-Men 2. And I still think the most underrated of all the comic book movies. I think that movie is a masterpiece of a comic book film. I rewatched it again about a month ago, and it's just blown away. The quality of that movie, how exciting it is, the way they handle the characters is great. Number 4 for me is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Woo!
Exceeded every expectation I had. I was blown away by that film, and it became my all-time favorite standalone Marvel film. So my number 4 is Captain America: Winter Soldier. Number 3 is, just saw it, X-Men: Days of Future Past. It just, wow.
Right?
Just wow.
I'm so glad now you guys get it.
A damn near perfect comic book movie. Number 2 for me is going to be The Dark Knight. Still the best DC comic film they've ever done. It just sets such a standard, and for a lot of people that would be their number ones. But for me, the number 1 is still Avengers. Avengers is it is a perfect comic book movie. I mean, definitely The Dark Knight has certain elements that are better than an Avengers, and Avengers has certain elements that are better than that. But for me personally, just me, as I sit back and I look at the movie as a whole, an overall entertainment package, to me, the better experience was watching Avengers. So for me, unquestionably, it's Avengers. Then number 2, The Dark Knight. Number 3, X-Men: Days of Future Past. Number 4, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Number 5, X-Men 2. And how do you not at least mention the original Iron Man or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2? Or, I mean, there's so many really good ones now. But those are my top 5 right now. Amy Rose, how do you count down your 5?
Top 10 is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's funny because 2 films that were this year actually nudged out other films. Iron Man used to be on there. So my number 5 spot goes to Captain America: Winter Soldier as well. I was floored. I thought this would be fun, but I was floored. The direction of this, it was like an old spy thriller, like phenomenal. Chris Evans, everyone. I mean, I was absolutely floored about that. Number 4, and I am mixing graphic novels with it, V for Vendetta. I thought this film, everything about it, from the adaptation, was phenomenal. Natalie Portman has never been better.
The reason I didn't include V for Vendetta
Graphic
or
novel
Road
counts.
to Perdition or 300 or anything like that,
You didn't go graphic.
they're not really like superhero, like comic book movies per se.
But
you're allowed. You're allowed.
The question was comic book movies, not superhero comic book movies. So V for Vendetta took it. It was just phenomenal. That story is so inspiring to me. It's super political. It's so well done. It was so dark and gritty and phenomenal. My number 3 spot is Avengers. Having that whole ensemble on the screen at once, Joss Whedon's direction. I mean, everyone had the best character moments. I watched that way too many times. Slightly embarrassing. Number 2, X-Men: Days of Future Past. Everything this little X-Men addict wanted and more. Both casts, like everything about it. Bryan Singer nailed it. Everything about it. We just had an hour-long spoiler review, so I won't go too in detail why I loved it, but it completely dethroned my number 2 spot. And 1 is still The Dark Knight. Everything about Nolan's direction was phenomenal. The tone, everything about it. Anne Hathaway in the third one. I would actually put the trilogy as like a whole film if I could do that.
That's when it gets into trouble.
But it gets tricky. I'll just stick to The Dark Knight because I thought it was definitely. But I loved Batman Begins. That's definitely still in my
Batman
top
Begins
10 as
is
well.
really great.
The Dark Knight as a film, not just as a comic book experience, I just thought was the superior picture and everything I wanted and more. And the Joker, still the best on-screen villain of all time. So, that's what I would do.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
I'm sorry. All due respect to Heath
Yep.
Ledger. I loved him in
Yep.
that. He ain't no Darth Vader. He couldn't hawk best
we're going
screen.
comic book.
But you said best screen villain of all time.
We're going comic book.
Okay, comic
Let's
books. Then
not
I agree.
get-
I agree with you. Yes.
Come on,
in that
John.
case, it's all you, Heath. Okay,
Yeah, Heath.
Dennis.
So my number 1 is The Dark Knight. It's a great crime drama mixed with a comic book film.
Yeah.
Would never ever put the trilogy in there just because I think the third one is
It was
weak.
weaker.
I still liked it, but I thought it was the weakest. And even Batman Begins, I thought
I loved that movie.
There's a few issues with that, but The Dark Knight itself, it gets better with every viewing. If you watch it again and again, you see okay, this happens and this happens and. So that's my number 1, and then the rest of the list is kind of more not in order for me, but I have Iron Man, Avengers, X-Men Days of Future Past, which we just saw. And the fifth one, I wasn't sure. There's a lot of good ones, like you mentioned Spider-Man 2, X-Men 2, Hellboy 2, Kick-Ass even.
Kick-Ass was good.
But I put the original Batman.
Nice.
The Tim Burton
The original Tim Burton Batman.
It holds a special place in my heart. I remember when I saw it when I was, I think I was in, this will date me. I think I was in 8th grade or something when that came out. No, maybe even younger.
I was 1. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, 7th or 8th grade when that came out, and I was like obsessed with Batman, and Tim Burton like made at that time, because most of you guys probably have grew up in an age where all these comic book movies coming out, everyone's gonna go see it. Back then, nobody read comic books. No one saw comic book movies. For that brief maybe year or two, comic book movies were cool.
Yeah,
For that
I remember
small amount of time, and then later, we all know what happened in 2000s. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Dylan Payton writes, "Hey guys, love your show. Started watching it a month ago and I'm addicted. With the release of Blended, what is your favorite and least favorite Adam Sandler movie of all time? Bring on the filthy."
My favorite is still Waterboy. I think just as a comedy overall, but for dramatic, I mention it all the time. His movie Reign Over Me, which is just showed you how good of a dramatic actor Sandler could be if he would just go back and do some more drama. But for favorite Waterboy, least favorite might be That's My Boy.
Oh, God.
Might be any one of 10 of his films that he's in. Jack and Jill was just an abomination. Jill, so many bad ones right now. But Waterboy would be my favorite. What do you think?
Wedding Singer. It's so charming. I absolutely loved it. The chemistry of the two of them, where it started it all with Drew Barrymore, so great. They captured the decade so well, and I liked the arc of his character a lot. Starting off in the bar mitzvah, and then like the whole struggle and like all that. I just thought it was packed with so much heart. So I love that. The worst one? I mean, the last 5 years of his life, maybe 8 years of his life. I didn't even see Jack and Jill, and I'm completely embarrassed that exists. So, yeah. About
Dennis?
that.
I really like Punch Drunk Love, but my favorite,
He's good in that.
my favorite Adam Sandler movie has to be Billy Madison.
Oh, I love Billy Madison.
It's like the most Adam Sandler of the Adam Sandler movies. He's just
That and Happy
so
Gilmore
weird.
Happy Gilmore
are very
too.
Adam Sandler
Yeah,
movies,
exactly.
yeah.
Like the whole shampoo versus conditioner in the bathtub.
Shampoo is better.
Peeing in his pants, and just like all these weird, quirky things that
that is good.
really. They're hilarious, but they're so odd. They don't even fit in a movie. Least favorite, I'd have to go with what was that one called? Was it Little Nicky or whatever the
Do
heck?
not diss Little Nicky. That was gold.
It had moments,
That was
but
gold.
it had moments.
Gold.
It did.
I remember watching. I was like, "What am I watching?"
Oh my
That's
gosh! But I'm looking at the
amazing.
screen any of these could Chuck and Larry. How awful was that?
Amazing.
Grown Ups. Just Go With It was terrible. That's My Boy is my worst ones. Mr. Deeds
Big
was
Daddy
terrible.
was actually cute.
Big Daddy was cute. Bulletproof was terrible. Happy Gilmore, Waterboy, Wedding Singer. I like those
You
three
don't
up
like
there.
that Little Nicky poster?
No.
Come on.
All right, folks, listen, we said we'd save a couple minutes for your YouTube, or for your Twitter questions, I should say, and we're going to do that right now. So if you're watching live, you might have time to get in a question. Tweet us at AMC Movie News. Ashley's picking them out. So, Ashley, what have you selected?
Jameson Plakin writes, "Favorite singer turned actor?"
Singer turned actor?
God, that's hard.
Well, I mean, I don't think any of them have really done well. I mean, one of them's got an Academy Award with Hudson.
Jennifer.
Jennifer Hudson.
She's a great actress.
I thought she was remarkable when she won her Academy Award. I've seen her in a couple things since, and I haven't liked her in anything since. So I don't know if that was lightning in a bottle. Now, you have some singers who've done some kind of memorable roles, right? Labyrinth, right?
David Bowie.
But is he a great actor?
Yes.
No.
No. No, he's not.
So
I would go
I'll go with the Jennifer Hudson one. That was probably
She's
the best
good.
performance.
Yeah. I would go Common. I think he's a really solid actor.
Common is actually this is big for me to say about a
Yeah.
singer turned actor. Common is a serviceable.
He's a solid actor.
Guy
He can do
who's in the
drama.
film, yeah.
He can do comedy. And Ice Cube in 21 Jump Street was hilarious. So I don't
Not
know
exactly
if he's an amazing
thespian level
he's not,
acting,
but
but-
he brings a lot of joy to my heart and my soul. So that to me is good. But yeah, I would go Common. He's been in a lot of films too.
Dennis?
I would go with Tupac.
Yeah.
Juice and Poetic Justice, and he did this movie, I forgot the name of it, with Tim Roth that was not similar it was a different role than his usual roles that he did, and I thought he was good in that.
In the right types of roles, Ludacris has done okay too. When the right, once
okay.
again, none of these
He's
guys
like an
are
Ice Cube.
thespians,
No.
like by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I think Ludacris is serviceable. Okay, what's next?
Christopher
like that
Parsons writes, what horror movie would you have loved to be an assistant director on?
Oh, well, we were just asked about our favorite horror movies, and I won't say The Descent because I couldn't go into those
That was
little.
terrifying.
Horror movie I wish I was an assistant director on? Pass. I don't know.
I'm going with The Shining.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
working with Stanley Kubrick
Yeah.
and just being even like up in the different locations and on set with him, I think would be fantastic.
I'd go the original Halloween. It kind of shaped the genre, and Mike Myers still gives me nightmares, but I love the adrenaline. So yeah,
I
think
get in a
that'd be
lot
great.
of trouble with movie pundit friends of mine when I admit I don't even like the original Halloween.
What?
I know.
How?
Jimmy almost wants to smack me whenever
I do
mention
too.
that. It's just, oh well.
What?
Okay, what's next?
Jai Patel writes, question, while I appreciate that you aren't the target audience, are there any Bollywood films that you've enjoyed?
Hey, don't laugh. Okay, I've never really sat down. Oh, I mean, there was what was that one I just went to go see? What was the name of it? It was just playing an AMC 8 in Burbank. It's not Rush. It's something 3.
Krish?
Chris, thank you. Thank you.
Nice work.
Most of my exposure to a lot of Bollywood film has been clips I've seen on YouTube. There's this amazing Spider-Man Bollywood film that is just like one of the craziest things you've ever seen in your life. It's just amazing. You're right. It's not targeted at me, but it is such a growing demographic. And I know AMCI, we're going to be talking a lot about AMCI over the next week or two, by the way, but AMCI is embracing a lot more Bollywood stuff. And trying to think of what I can give away. You know what? I've already said too much. Just know that keep your eye open for Bollywood. That's all I'm going to say for now. All right, let's just move on to the next question.
Okay, Dave Coca writes, any graphic novels other than superhero movies that you would like to see adapted to the big screen?
Wow, honestly, most of the graphic novel stuff that I've read that I would like to see adapted to the big screen has been. I mean, I remember for a long time, for me, it was 300. I mean, I thought 300 needed to be brought to the big screen. I can't think of any others off the top of my head. What about you guys?
I'm getting it. 100 Bullets.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting it.
That's right.
That's going to be phenomenal. So I'm really, really looking forward to that one.
Dennis?
I'm on a Brian K. Vaughan kick right now, so I'd go with Why the Last Man and right now Saga, but that will never happen. It's so quirky and weird sci-fi. I don't think any studio would ever make that into a movie.
That's why it's awesome.
And they've been trying for so long to get us a Why the Last
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, remember Shia LaBeouf was supposed to star in it, and then that whole thing fell off the rails. And all right, what's next?
Desmond writes, what's your favorite musical?
I'll tell you, it's real close. For a long time, I would say Moulin Rouge. Moulin Rouge
good
is,
one.
to me, it's a masterpiece. And I don't use that word very often. It is a masterpiece of a film. But the recent Les Mis too. I ate up Les Mis. I just ate that movie up. So it's close for those two. What about you guys?
I've mentioned my love for Singing in the Rain before.
Yeah.
Big fan. I also really like for new adaptations, specifically film and as well, Chicago. I just think it's such a sexy time period. The songs are phenomenal. I love the way they shoot it, both incarnations of it. So those would be my two, but my list is quite long.
Dennis?
I'd go with Singing in the Rain. It's such a classic, and just all the musical numbers
Debbie
are.
Reynolds.
All right.
good.
Let's take two more quick ones.
Okay, Luke Smith writes, do you think we'll see the Scarlet Witch in X-Men Apocalypse?
It's possible. It's possible. They had great. I mean, we don't want to get into any spoilers here, but they had great success with Quicksilver.
Did they ever?
So there's some competing theories about that one screenshot that came out before the movie did about Quicksilver with one little girl,
A redheaded little lady.
and we've heard different theories about that. I'm going to say with how much success they had with Quicksilver, it's very possible. I'm not sure I'm ready to say likely, but possible.
I'd go as far as likely because all of us were kind of like, he doesn't look great. We're all negative Nancy about it. And then he stole every single screen he was there, a part of the scene. So I absolutely loved Bryan Singer's rendition of this character, and I think it would be kind of a wasted opportunity. And I definitely elbowed my seatmate when I saw the little redheaded girl in there, because that would explain a lot in terms of just the direction they're taking.
Not exactly a twin, though.
Not a twin, but I think because of his powers that could be explained. Because
Sure,
of
we
his
don't want to go into
growth
too
and-
much, but
okay,
yes.
okay, I'll stop.
I think so. I think it's a character that's semi-well known, and that the fact that Marvel's using that character, Fox is like, well, we own the rights as well.
And we do it better.
They just want to put it in there for the future.
Yeah.
All right, last question.
Batlog writes, what is the worst movie ever?
Well, I mean, look, okay, when people ask me about a list of worst movies ever, I say, okay, let's be clear. Obviously, there's a lot of crap independent film and a lot of crap. I always go, if you're going to answer that question, I answer it in terms of big, wide release studio films, all right? And to me, there's a handful that always have to be considered, depending on the day, one will be up there. Catwoman with Halle Berry. Battlefield Earth, John Travolta. And the third one of my trinity of puke is Highlander 2. Those to me are the three worst big budget, wide release Hollywood films ever made. Catwoman, Battlefield Earth, The Highlander 2. What about you, Dennis?
For the big budgeted ones, it would be 2, and they're by the same phenomenal director, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, me
The
too.
Happening. Oh
Yes.
my
Yeah,
God!
that
If
was
you know
so
what the
bad.
premise of, if you've seen that movie, you know what the premise of what is the enemy.
Yeah.
It's so bad, so bad.
And a great example of a movie that can trick you with a great trailer, because I thought the trailer
Quality
to The
trailer.
Happening looked awesome.
Quality trailer.
And Last Airbender, that was a wreck. That was I saw that midnight with a group of all these Airbender fans, and wow.
Tears.
Yeah,
There were tears.
and not tears of joy. In terms of low budget, worst movie ever made, it has to be The Room.
Of
Tommy
course.
Wiseau's The Room.
But that movie's so bad, it's awesome.
Yes, it's hilarious,
Yeah.
and I recommend anyone go see that. Find it if you can.
My default's always Last Airbender, because I was really, really looking forward to it. And you're right, it looked like it was going to be quality, and it was not. And after
Yeah.
The Sixth Sense, he just kept going. The Happening's funny, because even Mark Wahlberg says he regrets making that movie. And actors don't typically do that. So.
George Clooney does about his Batman films. But, all right, folks, that'll do it for us. We were all out of time. Thanks so much for joining us today. Listen, lots of great movies playing in AMC theaters everywhere right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the thumbs up button that lets us know you like the video. And listen, once again, if you want an audio-only version of the show or several of our other shows, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting to my immediate right, Senior Editor of Movie News here at AMC Movie News, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy Rose, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Amy Rosie, and we'll see you from the mothership tomorrow.
And sitting right beside her, production manager of AMC, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero and on YouTube, ThinkHero Pro.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Ashley Mova. Bye, guys.
And you can find me on all the various social media networks just at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.